Well, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Check that shit out.
I know. We're doing stuff.
Here and shit.
Yeah. I'd like to be the first one to apologize to everyone who has been fans or has been watching our show and our content for our long hiatus. Lucas had a job change. I had life events happen, and as tends to occur, a lot of that tends to happen all at once, and unfortunately, so it takes coordination far more than you think for us to, because I'm sure most of you are like, "Fuck you! It's a Zoom call, you assholes."
This is
Surprisingly,
true. It looks
takes
easier.
a little bit more coordination to take time out of your life.
Easier.
And we also do research and stuff before the show because we want to come. We want to talk to you all from at least a position of somewhat knowledge, somewhat erudite influence of well, except for Lucas. I don't know what Lucas does. I think Lucas reads old Archie comics or something.
Yeah, something like that. And it is nice that we were able to kind of reboot this on the 4th of July. We do have some new things that we're going to do, so welcome to Brewing Controversy, as we haven't said in a couple of months. David's absolutely right. That's David, I'm Lucas, and we've been some busy fucking guys, but also trying to find the way to live in the balance, if there is such a thing, of the shitscape that we are all aware of, and then trying to live, regular life. So a little bit about the plan as it stands. We are going to try to do this every month, and we're going to try to stick with YouTube. So for a variety of reasons, and there are several reasons. Obviously, reason number one is Meta sucks, and it's just kind of an unnecessary pain in the ass, and we want to try to move into audio with the track from the live show going straight uncut into a podcast release. And for doing something as kind of a side hobby way to exercise our dissent against the things we see, and a way to process and therapy our existence, it's a lot to add all these channels together. So sticking with YouTube for the live video, it will probably cut into the live input that we get in commentary, and that's okay, because we'll put it out there on YouTube and let it go to town, and we will then release the audio podcast version and see where that new iteration takes us. This also means we're going to stick to roughly an hour, because that's the sweet spot for the podcast universe as far as what people are tending to tune into. And we are no longer going to be trying to line up and stack up multiple topics and the reviews of all the things going on. We're going to just chat, banter, talk about things that are in front of us at the moment. Sometimes we may know what that is going in, and we'll say something about it. Sometimes we may not really know what it is until we get through with the conversation, and the description will be more accurate on the audio. We'll actually say, this time the boys talked about this. But that is a bit more the nature of a podcast than the audio realm anyway. So it's great to see you, my friend, and it's great to see all of you out there in the fuckosphere that is this place that's having its birthday today. Rob's here. Good, reliable regulars. That's what we love. So Rob's here apparently with Dave. Probably moved it to the living room. Able to kick back, do the recliner with the TV. That's kind of fun. Good to see you guys. Thanks for hopping in. We're going to try to remember that we're releasing these in audio and not rely on screen. So we are going to try to be a little bit more radio DJ about it. And eventually, probably the video version is just going to be a thing where if you know us, you see it, but we're going to just record the audio in the future or something. We haven't crossed the bridge yet. We don't know where all that will go. Just trying to find a new
We're going for the anti-Joe Rogan experience.
There you go. Right. Exactly. So, to that end, part of the new format is to keep with something we had been playing with from time to time lately, and that, of course, is the diving straight in with, but first, beer. So we're going to get into our beer chatter first. This way, anybody that's mostly here for the beer comes in, talks about the beer, and gets to tune out. I have fortunately fallen into mine as a recent release, and I'm very, very happy about it. And then David's got something crazy and wild that I've never heard of. But we are going to spare you a lot of the on-screen specs because, again, with this going into audio, we don't see a need to have to put all that data on the screen when you can just take your ass to Untappd.com yourself. So I'll start because I'm so damn excited about it. Yesterday, I picked up a pack of the new dragon. They've had the black dragon, the red dragon, the gold dragon.
God, you are such a fanboy.
I am such a nerd. It's worse than that because this crosses into like D&D and nerdism in general. Now there's a green dragon, ladies and gentlemen. I sent David a sneak peek of this a few weeks ago when I was given a sneak peek of it, and then it landed recently. And when I went after work yesterday, I went to New Holland to do a little bit of happy hour time, also known as My Expenses, and sat there with my laptop and a friend from across the street, and then it ended up the lady joined us, and the little group of us had a dinner happy hour while I kind of plotted through my expenses. Since it's the end of June, time to do the expense thing. This is the Emerald IPA. There's a barrel fermented IPA. Creamy notes of vanilla and citrus. I think to me it's one of the best cans that Dragon's Milk has ever.
That's a solid design right there. And I'll tell you why I like it. Because it isn't fucking around like a lot of the rest of theirs do with random bullshit. It's got a very, it's got it. I look at that and it screams Boston at me. Okay.
So this is, it's hard to categorize, and the Dragon's Milk line is expanding to be more than just barrel aged dark. It's barrel involved premium beer. Basically, is the identity in that span. But there's just a lot of little excellent design touches to it. Anyway, on to the important part. It's got a lot of booze on the nose, which is kind of characteristic of the Dragon's Milk line, but not what you typically expect when you crack open an IPA. And the thing that strikes me is it goes through a good 4 cycles. So right in, it's got the bitter thing that you would get off an IPA. It goes in a little bitter. Then you get a kind of a hit of the vanilla touch that they're referring to. And then you get that rindy citrus thing, and then you get into this warm esophagus, booze but not boozy, glowing, roasty settle that happens at the end. I did try it for the first time on draft last night, and I went through my neighbor that had joined from across the street. He got to watch the whole. I was like, ooh, like each level that settled in as it went. But it's a very good iteration. It's a welcome addition to the line, I believe. I think it's great that they're really milking this for all it's worth in this brand, and I damn well enjoy it. If you're playing along by visiting Untappd.com, you would find out that it's 11%, and it's running at 4.13, 109 ratings. It does pour into a beautiful light orange amber kind of color. Mileage varies on ambient light, but it's gorgeous in the glass. So pretty happy with that one. Glad it's out. Glad it's becoming part of the lexicon. I think it's going to pull in the IPA crowd to the Dragon's Milk brand, where there might have been some people that weren't really into the dark, the barrel-aged, the fodder aged, all the different things they've done with Dragon's Milk so far. This gives something truly new to the line to bring people in that are interested in that. So, Tag, you're it, sir.
So I have Gemini, and this is their raspberry banana parfait beer. Smoothie is the correct term for this. This is delicious. This is so freaking delicious. You get a lot of banana on the nose, and then you immediately get a smell of raspberries. And it's obvious that there's a good bit of lactose on this. In fact, they describe it as sour ale brewed with raspberry, banana, granola, and yogurt. And I'm not getting the granola as much, but the yogurt, yeah, this is basically an alcoholic smoothie. This will get you in trouble. This is like a fruity bushwhacker. It is very hot here. It has been very hot in my upstairs. So I had a vacation last week, and the first day of my vacation, my AC went out.
Oh.
And oh yeah, and I was off for a week, and it took a week to get my AC back up. I was not a happy camper, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, it was 92 degrees in my house, and I hated it. But this is the sort of thing. If I had like a 6-pack of these, I would have just stayed perpetually drunk and maybe not cared as much. Been like, I need more fluids, and drunk some of these. It's 7% alcohol. So yeah, you pound these back, you're gonna feel it eventually. But it is the sour is not really super. It's sour like a smoothie would be sour. It is almost purely a smoothie. And take a look at the artwork on the can. The artwork on the can is just so cool. I love this. It's got this
that is pretty rad.
sort of like geometric mixed with Art Nouveau.
It's got some fine lines. It's almost got a retro wave vibe to it. It's got You almost can't tell on screen. Hold it up one more time. I don't know if you can even really see the fine lines. Yeah, they don't come out as much on the screen, but if you go and look at the art online, like Untappd has a good image for it. It's really like those mountain and line drawing retro wave kind of feel. That's really cool.
Yeah. But this is absolutely fucking delicious. Again, if I had 6 of these, I would just completely annihilate them.
That looks thick too. I'm looking at it in a glass, and that looks like puree. Like it is.
Oh yeah, you can definitely tell. Like I'm getting a
mouthfeel
that suggests that there's a good bit of raspberry seed still in there.
Yep. There's a picture of something with a glass that's only got about a quarter of it left, and the whole glass is just coated.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely freaking delicious. And honestly, since Smoothie King and all the other things have left Nashville, and I lately I've been craving a smoothie.
What? Really?
Yeah.
What? We were just talking about this up here. I think at the office, I was talking about the fact that I miss Smoothie King because there isn't anything up here. There's not a Smoothie King. And then when my coworker was like, yeah, I missed it too. They used to have one over wherever the hell. And I was like, oh, there used to be. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Because like I got here and I was sad because I had like points and I should have drained my points while I was still in Nashville and use them for a free smoothie or whatever. And we got here, there's no Smoothie King. And I had to learn what the fuck a tropical smoothie cafe is and why the hell does it have food.
And that's the thing that like that they have just moved into Nashville. The tropical smoothie cafe people, they've just moved into Nashville.
You have to tell them how to make a smoothie, in my opinion, because the yogurt's not a default ingredient for them.
Well, that and also, I mean, I like tropical stuff. That's fine. I would also like normal berries, just like strawberries and raspberries.
Well, they have different stuff, but you have to really put it together. The menu leans heavy tropical.
Yeah.
And then the thing doesn't make okay, you have quesadillas. So basically it's like daytime versions of bar food plus smoothies. But smoothies not fully grown, gestated proper smoothies because they don't have fucking yogurt and you have to add it. it's sad to hear that Smoothie. I wonder if Smoothie King's just going just generally tits up.
Well, their last location, the old Bellmead Plaza Center, they still had one in there, and that is now a mound of rubble.
Right.
In preparation for them to continue to try and explain how they're going to have 3,500 new people continue to use Harding Pike in that particular section, where already on a bad day it's a 10-minute wait between stoplights.
Yeah, living in Hillwood is not easy when you become the alternate route for pissed off people stuck on White Bridge Road.
Yep.
Oh boy. Well, anyway, sounds like a great beer. Thanks for sharing that. As you've probably guessed by the general motif of the background and the bug and me, we're not exactly celebrating today because there's really not that much to fucking celebrate. And that's kind of the thing that we're talking about today is the state of affairs as we find it for both how we are dealing as human beings and then the nation and all the things happening. And, when David and I talked about what do we do now with all this and what do we want to do with this show concept, part of my thing was like, I can't live in this anymore, like all the time. I can't, like, part of my coping and survival mechanism is to just exist, just go to work, just live my life, and lean on the comfort of being the last of the demographics that'll get targeted. But it's necessary occasionally to hit up some things and hash it out and at least say out loud how dumb and shitty things are.
Wow, that was Shakespeare, Lucas.
I mean, like, there's not a high-minded way to say it. This is dumb and shitty, and it's astonishing. Also, Dave in the comments, back from the dead, a-holes. Yes, back from the dead. Not exactly back from the dead, just back at it within reason. So, something I found out, keeping in mind that when I started working again in person in January, I had not worked in person in 5 years. I hadn't actually done the math on that until I was, 3 days in, getting in the office going, whew, I just fucking got here and I'm tired. Oh, wait, I know why. My commute used to be up the stairs, and now it's all the way across town. Now, when I say that in Grand Rapids terms, please don't be alarmed. It's nothing like all the way across town in Nashville. But, generally speaking, it's been a shift of lifestyle from where I was when I was remote and working out of this room. And that job was a 3-year thing. And, of course, before that, I was in Nashville with the whole COVID, et cetera. Well, not exactly. The math doesn't math right. But the job was about 3 years and change. Of course, the COVID part, and that's when David and I started doing all this. And, so had to wrap my head around what is it like to have normal life with going to work in a place with people, and then what are those people like, and how many of them swing my way at all. And it turns out a surprisingly large number of people actually do. But there's a way of talking around the office if you are part of the rebel scum of the zeitgeist, because it is still West Michigan and it still has all the oligarchy and poison of Christian Reformed. Blech! So we found that balance now of what we can do here and how we want to proceed. And part of it is Dave's going to do most of the mental work. He's going to come ready with the academics. He's going to come and bounce some shit around with us. And obviously the thing to bounce around right now is what is hopefully going to become the undoing. But we've been saying that shit for some time now. And I no longer believe that when somebody says, oh, well, if they pass this bill, that's going to do them in. That's going to be the end of this MAGA Republican Party. And, I refuse to have any faith in that. I think there will be some people that will maybe suffer enough that they flip. I fired off one of my cranky morning Facebook missives this morning about, if you live somewhere with a rural hospital that gets shut down and you voted for this shit, then you should stay at the back of the line when you come to the city for our hospitals. I don't know what it's going to take. I think people, somewhere between the brainwashing and the cultism and just the basic abject stupidity, I don't know if this is a breaking point for all the people that are about to really see the shit hit the fan for them because of this latest big ugly bill.
It's not going to do anything to them. Is it going to hurt them financially? Yes. And Biden,
and they'll just blame it on Democrats or something.
Yeah, Trump is going to somehow make it Biden's fault, or Harris's fault, or Pelosi's fault, because they don't really know who the hell Hakeem Jeffries is. So he may try and pin it on Chuck Schumer, but that doesn't really work. He needs something that his cult following understands as a order of demon, and so that's Pelosi, that's Biden, that's Harris. So he'll try and make it somehow their fault, even though it's like Harris didn't win the election. Biden has been out of office for X number of years, and Pelosi hasn't been chair of the party in a while. So, how are you gonna? It doesn't have to make sense. It goes towards a.
But they can just blame AOC and Bernie because that's the buzz lately, or they'll blame the fucking guy in New York.
Yeah.
No, they'll do it, and the cultists, the idiots, will just lap it up.
It's all a Kabbalah. And for those not familiar, so Kabbalah is a form of Jewish mysticism, which basically equates things to having to do with demons and angels and special rituals that you should perform, and a lot of it's all a sort of Republican Kabbalah of we're just going to make it up as we go along. It's a mythology, because that's where they feel safest. And one of the things that I find in trying to deal with MAGAs these days is you just simply can't give them facts. You can't give them numbers. You can't give them facts. It is all based purely upon an emotional reaction. So, there was a bunch of people the other day on Reddit kind of backing up this guy talking about, defending the Second Amendment. And you're listening to him and you're like, all you've done is paint the most snowflake picture of, if we were to reverse this, you're being a snowflake. You're making an entirely emotional argument about why you need your assault weapon instead of one based on facts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they live. They live in a place surrounded by emotion, and if you try and present them with facts, it literally just hurts their feelings because it makes them feel emotionally invalidated, which honestly I'm okay with. I'm fine emotionally invalidating them because their emotions are not valid. For those of you who don't know me very well, I am a numbers guy. One of my favorite quotes from any movie is someone asking William Pitt the Younger what he enjoys, and he replies, "A good balance sheet, sir. A good balance." That's me. I like a good balance sheet. I enjoy crunching the numbers. I enjoy asking these questions about, okay, so what does that equate to in numbers? What does this decision equate to in raw numbers? And you just can't. Like with this bill, the reason they don't care about how many people are getting kicked off of Medicare is the numbers mean nothing to them. 17 million is a completely abstract thought to them. All they hear is, well, we're going to kick the freeloaders off. Now, when they get kicked off...
And then they're like, well, damn, that's a lot of freeloaders. Like, yeah, the logic should tell you that can't be the case, but okay. But logic doesn't enter
it. Exactly. It's not about trying to feed them the numbers, because in their minds, 17 million makes no sense. 3.3 trillion added to the deficit means nothing. The deficit is an entirely amorphous concept in their head. It has no grounding in any sort of reality.
Yeah. Well, and a comment from Rob is, for the MAGA crowd, it's all about owning the libs, and it ultimately is just this like juvenile, hyper distilled playground justice logic of I know you are, but what am I? And nanny nanny boo boo, and your mama's so fat, and by the way, I'm kicking her off of her health care. It's we've been working on this for longer than there was Trump in the national political landscape. I've been like, people that know me and pretty much probably everybody that's tuned in or you on the other end of the screen know that one of the biggest things that pisses me off but also creates the conflicting feeling of vindication is when I said something and I knew it was right, and it took everybody too long to figure out, oh, he was right. And I, for most of my adult life observing politics, have been talking about the fact that we are gradually getting stupider, and we are fostering stupider and stupider and stupider through every available system, be it media literacy, education, what we teach in school, what we decide not to teach in school. And just years ago, to me, it was very obvious that we were trying to create a stupid, gullible society. And when you do that on the whole, there's always going to be a worse part of it, and there's going to be a less bad part of it. And the worst part of that is the MAGA cult. It's this overall phenomenon, then scrape the sludge from the bottom of that barrel, and you have those people.
And and here's the thing. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the worst part. It's the most susceptible part, because there are people who are MAGA who you would look at and be like, but you're a doctor.
Right.
And you look at them and you're like, this doesn't make any sense. You've been trained. I've had to go through this with one person not too long ago. And they're studying to be a doctor, and I tried to walk them through what you're describing violates the scientific method, right? It violates the method of, okay, we take the evidence at hand, and then we make a deduction from the evidence. We don't try and what you don't walk into this presupposing something. What does the evidence tell you? The whole body of the evidence, not just the evidence you want. Because this person wanted to go. I mean, this person wants to go into medicine, and they're talking about how like effective homeopathy is, and I'm like, no, you don't get to be a doctor and practice homeopathy, because literally homeopathy. I mean, it's one of the jokes of like, how much do you know about homeopathy? Nothing. Well, then you're an expert.
Right.
Because literally homeopathy, if you break down the roots, means that the more you know, the less you know. So, how much do I know about homeopathy? Nothing. But I'm an expert. You look at these people and they've carved out this part of their mind that needs satisfaction for some sort of grievance, for some sort of trauma, and it's looking for. I mean, that's the true appeal of Trump. Trump is the destroyer who will lead them to avenging themselves against people who they feel have wronged them, and instead of taking a step back and saying, okay, this isn't just about me. This is national government. This is not, it's one of the issues that I feel like modern America has got. One of the problems I feel is that we never truly left Jeffersonian democracy. we never truly left the hyper individual politics
Hmm.
that made up so much of the country for so long. And we've moved into a realm in which we're talking about politicians not as truly your local district politician. Andy Ogle's my representative. He's a fucking asshole. He doesn't give a shit about what happens in his district.
Right.
Could not care less. What he cares about is his national profile. The bigger his national profile, the more people pay attention, the safer he is in his district
Yeah.
because people know him from seeing him on TV and in articles and things like that. The same actually can be said of AOC. AOC, I would hope, cares more about her district, but at the end of the day, she is a national politician far
Right.
more so than she is a local politician. And I think one of the problems that we are having as a society in our politics is that that sort of hyper personal. I'm your representative. I go out. Yeah, people like John Tester, who was a Montana farmer, who actually went out and farmed with his neighbors. That's not the norm.
Right.
The guy who owns a small business in your district, who says, I want to change things and runs for representative in your local district, that's a rare thing.
Do
That's
you
not
think?
as
Do you think we painted ourselves into a corner with that? Like, I spend a lot of nerdy mind time on these ideas of like all the stuff that I think is amazing and cool about tech and communication and audiences. And I mean, I went to school for mass comm. I mean, to me, these things sound like the kinds of things that you get when you have pivoted over the peak into just the embarrassment of riches of reach and tech and capability. So the people that are in these situations can have that reach so easy now that it's easier to lose eye on the ball and get wrapped up in that national thing.
I think it definitely is a tech moment of how this has impacted us. But I think back to the point, I think where Trump gets his um, sort of uh, boost from so many of these people, where they gravitate towards him, is he feels like he's going to individually avenge them
Mm.
from something that they see as wrong. And he's able to guide them very. I will say this: he's able to guide them very easily to things that are scary to a lot of people. Like immigration is scary to a lot of people. It doesn't matter that there's not actually that many immigrants in the country. We aren't being overrun in the slightest. In fact, the main problem that we have is that we provide so little support to the people who are living here that we've dropped below replacement population growth rate. People don't want to have kids because we can't afford housing, we can't afford health
Oh
care,
yeah,
we can't afford childcare, we can't afford the basics of living, and so people stop having kids because the
yeah.
resource scarcity
That was one of
says
our
I'm
one of
not.
our other neighbors was over here last night. We were all hanging out on the
Yeah.
porch, and she said that exact thing. She said, "Well, we're not going to have any damn kids. That's too expensive. We can barely get by on our own." Like,
Um, eh, yeah, I
and
mean,
then while we're at it, let's run all the people off that do all the jobs that nobody will lower themselves to doing, mostly because we won't pay and embrace the greed and share the wealth. Like, I don't know what their end game is other than stick it to the libs and put on a show and making it look like rounding everyone up that has wronged you and kept you from
there,
being a
there,
successful white person. But like, no one's
there
going to
is no end game.
jobs.
There is no end game. There is no end game because you're assuming that they have a clear objective
Right.
uh, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. That premise
The
is
end
entirely not the premise.
the premise is they are the kid in the never ending story upstairs in the attic reading a book and suddenly having the lines between fantasy and reality blur, and that's where they want it to be. There is no swamp of sorrow. Atreo never gets swallowed. Falcor is real someplace, and they need a fantasy to be real rather than because the reality is if they have to deal with the reality, then the problem is a lot more complex. The problem with immigration is a lot more complex. The problem with housing is a lot more complex. Although, as someone pointed out, and I really love this, the crew that built the new concentration camp in Florida,
Alligator Alcatraz,
aka Alligator Alcatraz, pointed out that if it hadn't been for a couple of regulations, they would have had the entire thing built in 72 hours.
Right.
And someone pointed out, so what you're saying is it's really not that hard to build more affordable housing. You just don't want to do it.
Exactly.
And that's, I mean, I think there's a lot of problems surrounding that. I think one of the other problems that I think we have to begin acknowledging in the course of how we got here and where we are right now is that I think the Democratic Party and the left in general needs to take a hard look at how we are messaging to people, which is we need to just start being on the nose. It's one of my frustrations with Schumer, with the Democratic leadership, is instead of being on the nose and looking, and they're like, oh, but we look at all these gains we made in suburbia. Yeah, you made gains in suburbia because people don't like the mean man, but the problem is that we still need to tell the truth about, I'm sorry, this entire economic system that you're trying to support in its current framework is unsustainable. Simply can't continue to do things this way.
Yeah.
And it's become a revolving door of, oh, we don't want to sound too leftist.
Well,
but on the other hand,
they don't want to sound too anything. Like there's not a pair of nuts in the entire fucking party. It's insane.
No, there isn't.
And I don't know why. It's like I know a lot of people on the left side of the political spectrum, at least around town, around here. They like to say stuff about it's the donors, it's the money in politics, it's the people who've been around too long and they're not thinking about changing anything. Like they have a million excuses, and the bottom line to me is it's not really any of that. It's just plain gutless leadership, and even the ones that are supposedly gutsy tend to fail. Like you're sitting there. If you're the coach, you're like, but the ball was right there. And you just can't figure out why didn't they kick it.
And that's become one of the problems. And I would argue that that's the main issue of where we're falling down right now in countering Trump's messaging is we need to be saying flat out, no, here's what we're going to do. We are going to build 300,000 new housing units, and we're going to price them between poverty level and 100 times poverty level. And we're going to put them in every major metropolitan district. Okay. And now people can say, oh, you're going to build housing, and not, hey, we're going to build it in 5 years. It's very clear that if we want to, and not for breaking the bank price, we can have these up in within a single presidential term, within a single 2-year House term.
Yep.
We can have something to show people, and because that's what Trump is doing. The reason Trump is creating all this chaos is it shows that at least in the minds of his followers that he's doing something.
Right.
He's doing that personal
like,
avenging moment.
Like you and I, way back, probably last year, right after the election, I remember us having a conversation about how what it will look like is a lot of things that are showy and big and dramatic, and it won't be real. It'll be just for production. And now we're seeing what that looks like. We do have a note about sound. We're still playing with the sound issue to get it to be correct, and it's weird. But we're playing with it on the fly. There were some issues with David's mic not liking him when he sat down in his office, and yeah, it was a scene. The mic jumped up and hit him a couple times. It was ugly. Anyway, we're trying to work it out. I don't actually hear any echo on my end, so that's bizarre and hard to determine. But thanks.
Yeah. I think we're getting two very different audio signals.
Yeah,
because you're coming through a little blasty.
Yeah,
to me.
But did you switch mics just now?
I did, just to see if I can stop the echo.
More sustainable. Davis, it sounds like Ricola. Ricola.
Yeah, if you've got headphones, that might be advisable because the echo is intense.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't hear any of it. And echo cancellation is allegedly turned on. But noise suppression is like not an option. It's on whether I like it or not. That's neat. Also, I have no idea what the fireworks are going to sound like. There've been a couple of them. I'm not sure if this is how it is for you in your burbs, but here on the west side of Grand Rapids, they start blowing shit up at all times of day. They don't care about color. They don't care about shape. They just want boom. And there have been a couple of them this afternoon that sound like someone had just set off a car bomb down the street. It's insane. I don't know what they're blowing up. Rob's contribution. David sounds like Lou Gehrig giving his retirement speech.
All right.
Oh boy.
Is that too better? Is that better, guys?
I have like it sounds
the
great to
echo's
me.
still bad.
I don't hear it. It's so weird. Well, anyway, let's keep it on, Lou. I found it interesting. This article that floated around. It was floating around with some people today. There were these 7 little-known items in the CNN's calling it the big agenda bill, which I guess is okay. I think big ugly bill works better. So I was offended by the first one on the list. Discovery. The shuttle Discovery is being relocated from the Air and Space Museum in Northern Virginia to Houston, and it's an $85 million operation. And like, these motherfuckers are the first ones to say stuff about like, oh, you know, people putting all these little special pork in their bills and all this. Like, well, this bill includes special circle jerk shit just for John Cornyn and Ted Cruz to feel less butthurt that a shuttle isn't sitting in Houston. Like, I don't ever want to hear it again. But, you know, it doesn't matter when we say that shit. I don't ever want to hear it again because they still just go after it again. I mean, they were all about, oh, debt bad, deficit bad. And this fucking thing is going to obliterate, like, any kind of reasonable idea of an acceptable proportion of debt and deficit. But they're fine now, because it was never about any of that. It's always been about power, subjugation, and control on their behalf. It was never about fiscal responsibility. It's never been about freedom. It's never been about patriotism. It's never been about caring about people or God or any of this other shit that they have constantly, through my entire adult life and my childhood, I just didn't know it, tried to sell that they cared about. They don't care about any of that shit. They care about greed and oppression. And
I wouldn't go so far as to say they care about oppression.
Huge step forward in a lot of that.
I think oppression might be a little bit too forceful. I think what they care about is power over someone else. Not necessarily oppressing them, but I mean, very much they and their followers believe that power is a zero-sum game. In other words, there's only so much power to go around, and they need to have more of it than anyone else. And again, with this immigration thing, it's one of the reasons why now they're turning to citizenship. Because now they want to go ahead and they're very afraid of a Democratic backlash. And they want to make it so that Democrats are afraid that they'll simply strip us of our citizenship. Now, do I think the Supreme Court is going to go that far? No, I don't think the Supreme Court can embrace completely unraveling the Republic. I don't think they can.
I mean, a couple of them would.
Yeah, a couple of them would. I think Alito definitely would.
Oh,
Roberts
yeah.
definitely would. I think Roberts would play with it a little bit. I don't think Kavanaugh and Barrett are quite there yet. I think they still want to see themselves as
Weirdly enough.
somewhat jurists.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, somehow Barrett has been one of the least crazy additions in recent memory, and that's just fucking far out. That is just wild to me. Yeah, I don't know. But you're right. They keep playing with all the angles. There is nothing. I don't think there's anything beyond the pale for these assholes.
No, and I think this is one of the things I keep on trying to tell people is it's going to keep getting worse. Until somebody steps up. One of two things is going to happen. Either they're going to have to cross a line so flagrantly that it demands a response from ordinary people. In other words, ordinary people are going to look at them and say, "Oh, no. Not just people in LA, not just people in California."
Right.
It would have to be. And the thing is, they're actually actively looking for that Rubicon moment. And this is one of the things I keep on trying to explain to people is, they're like, they wouldn't push it too far. They actively want to push it too far.
Yeah.
And the reason is because they want that Rubicon moment. They want to somehow trigger in their mind what will be Armageddon, which is to mean that sort of this climactic battle between the American left and the American right, and the American right, in their opinion, will march into battle and triumph. And then some sort of utopia thing will emerge. They very much mix their apocalyptic theology with their politics. So you can see where the thinking is very easy to make that connection of, well, in order for God to come back, something awful has to happen so that Jesus has to come back right now and rapture us or do whatever the hell is supposed to happen in their particular flavor, and then everything will be fine. Everything will be better. And it's very easy to take that same thought and transfer it over to politics and say, I'm going to create something so bad that it creates that moment where we're going to have this climactic battle between the left and the right, and we think on the right that we're going to win. Now, I would definitely argue that is the not smart thinking. I think that they way overestimate the engagement of their side. I think they way underestimate the engagement of the left. I don't think it'll be pretty at all, depending on a lot of factors. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a win for the left, but no one's actually going to really win it.
Right. Like, these are no-win outcomes. Nothing good at the end of these journeys. I think it's politically, especially like with electoral politics, it's probably pretty smart to keep pounding the drum about all the damage done by the bill. There have been a lot of social media channels, the official party channel, and other left and, well, just plain honest journalism, straight down the middle journalism. They've been beating the drum about, well, this is what's about to be lost in this sector, and this is how many people, and this is this, and this is the other thing, and then this representative's district is about to lose this many jobs. Like, I think that stuff has to be the consistent, present talking point, but I don't think it's the solution. And what's pathetic about the left is that they're going to pansy ass their way to believing that, oh, well, if we just keep up the quippy Instagram carousels that call out the numbers and the data, then people will figure that out. Well, okay, maybe the reasonable people in the middle in this country that just kind of sort of swing a little bit in their votes, maybe they might come out and barely eke out a few victories in the midterm for you, but it's not the kind of attention that it really needs.
What I think the problem that the Democratic Party has right now, and especially in how they've dealt with this bill, how they've dealt with a lot of things, is they have decided that pitch battle loses they're after this elusive white middle class voter that when they look at their demographics, they're like, well, we lost these people by 60% in the last election. You lost those people because I would argue that a lot of voters, just in general, were not sold on anything. Harris wasn't selling anything.
Right.
What was she selling? Other than I'm not Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
And that worked for Biden.
And when given the opportunity to sell something different, she shit the bed. Like, what would you do differently than Biden? Oh, I don't know, really nothing. Like, dumbass. This is not the time to kiss the boss's ass. This is the time to show that you're about to get his job. And it doesn't fucking matter what he thinks. It doesn't matter what the fucking traditionalists think. And it doesn't matter what the party establishment thinks. That was the time to say, well, yeah, I might have done this different. And in fact, we had a heated debate about that, and it went his way because he's the boss. But this is what I was wanting to do.
And I think that there's a case being set up as we speak for a new conversation with the party leadership. I think the election in New York should send a clear signal to the party. No, your problem isn't that you aren't conservative enough for white voters. Your problem is that you're not selling anything. You aren't saying how you're going to fix the problem other than, well, we're going to keep doing what we've been doing. And a lot of people are looking around saying, that hasn't solved the fucking problem.
Right. Well, and I don't know all of the platform points or promises. I mean, I'm not in New York, so I don't have to give a fuck what Zoran is pitching, right? But he was pitching something that in the primary got him over, like, with a swath of people, with
a large swath of people. Everyone thought Cuomo had it in the bag because of name recognition.
Right. And I'm looking at it right now. It's 56 to 44 in the percentages. So Mamdani versus Cuomo, I mean, that should have been, for Cuomo, 44% is a ridiculously embarrassing smackdown.
Yeah.
For other candidates, other new people, like, that would have been, oh, well, that's a respectful showing. But not for him.
No.
That was a beatdown. And it doesn't make sense that should be the case in traditional Democratic approaches. So what you say is exactly right. Like, this is the warning shot of, like, hey, guys, nobody bought into the boo scary Muslim part, and nobody bought into the, brownish kid with a funny name part, and all the stuff that you were pretty much depending on to float your fucking old-ass white dude boat, and it didn't work.
And I'll be very clear. What he sold was something that I've been trying to say we need to move towards for a long time, which is that the solution to the current mode of capitalism, which has become so obviously exploitative that even Republicans are like, well, yeah, we hate those guys too. But they vote for tax breaks for them because they think they're going to be them someday. I mean, it doesn't make any fucking sense. The thing that he proposed was this. The government has a responsibility to establish a baseline in the market for certain essential goods. The government has an obligation to establish a baseline for healthcare. The government has an obligation to establish a baseline for housing. The government has an obligation to establish a baseline for food. That was one of the things that apparently got a lot of traction, and he noted it, was he's like, hey, we can have a city-owned grocery store.
Right. Yeah, I'm just looking at, Vox has a great rundown on it, and I was just looking at the top 3 items they talk about, and that's number 2 is city-owned grocery stores, along with rent-frees and free buses.
Yeah, I mean, and transportation.
These aren't exactly outlandish, wild-eyed, commie things.
Well, and the thing is with the city-owned grocery store, I have made this argument for a long time, which is it is the responsibility of government to establish these baselines in the market. And the only way it can establish, we've tried doing it through regulation, and it's simply not going to fucking work. The answer is that the government has to be a direct player in the market.
Direct competition.
And to that end,
health insurance, same story.
Yep. To that end, the government should have its own. The same way government tried to help with mortgages through the creation of Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac. It needs to now address these other essential goods. It needs to, and services. It needs to start saying, here's a public option for healthcare. It needs to start saying, if Kroger and Albertsons and I forget who else is big, Safeway is
right.
If they want to keep jacking up prices, guess what I can do? As the government, I can go into the market and say, I will establish a grocery store.
We're beating your price. Tough shit.
And the same applies to housing. If we want to keep on playing these games with housing, the government should be able to go into places and say, you know what? Yeah, I actually bought up that plot of land, and I'm building houses on it, and this is the price I'm selling them at.
Yep. And I welcome that. And I used to have a boss whose favorite phrase was, I don't like it when the government picks the winners and losers. This isn't that. They'll say that, but this isn't what that is. Government's not picking the winners and losers. The government is picking the ability to fairly establish competition. And now it's up to your business sector to make the decision, I'm going to get my ass kicked if I don't let go of one of the many digits behind the first number in my payroll rate and sacrifice more to provide a better price and compete. Because the reality is these corporations are raking in the money.
And because they have no
money to spare.
They have no true interest in competing with one another. I mean,
right.
I live in an area where Comcast is the monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because AT&T won't run the line. And Google Fiber keeps on throwing up billboards for their investors. But when you ask them, where have you run line?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well...
a couple places.
They
ran it on our old street, and to my knowledge, there still isn't any service there.
Yeah, I mean, they're not really trying to compete. None of these people, Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, they're not trying to compete with one another.
Why would they want to?
Start looking at the government and saying it's up to the government to start saying you have to compete, and instead of trying to regulate you into competition, we're going to have to directly engage and say, okay, we're going to come in and we're going to compete with you. If you aren't going to pick up the profit that's there, I can pick up the profit that's there, and I can self-fund these projects. Because here's the investment from the United States government to buy this land and build these houses, and they get sold at a profit, just at a more reasonable profit.
He's been called the future of the party. I don't think that's accurate, but I think he's the future of the platform. In a lot of ways that could win back, and I think it's worth keeping an eye on that shit.
Well, I think that my wild card from the who could replace Biden is out there as a stalking horse right now, Ro Khanna.
It's not the first time you've said that. That's true. I can see it.
He's out there as a stalking horse now.
I still think at a national scale, there is a lot of reasonable reluctance that you see in the middle. We got to take those baby steps, but I think the platform itself can be built in that same way and not suffer from it. Anyway, all right, we're at that sweet spot. We're going to jump out of this thing. Thanks for joining us on the new version, and we look forward to seeing you on the other side on the next time. And for whatever it's worth, happy birthday, America, while it lasts. I would love to see something get way better before we had to do 250 with this motherfucker at the helm. So, thank you, sir. Thank you out there. And this is the part where we say good night.
Good evening.
And
good luck.
Good luck.